at least we have to thank to the leaders of the working groups and all the teams and the vice leaders who make such a fantastic organization for all the meetings. I really enjoy it. So we really have to thank you all. So I think Rui explained something here. Yes. So
yes.
Rui has already put in the chat.
The way that you can go in and go out of the breakout rooms. So you select in the bottom the breakout rooms, then it appears 3 rooms. You can join which room you prefer, the first one, the second, the third, corresponding to the working groups. And then to leave, you just leave, but not leave the meeting. You just leave the breakout room to come back to the main session. Okay. Else, I'm gonna ask you one thing. Can you recording your breakout room?
Yes, I see the record button.
Yes, it's just click there because we don't have enough people to go to the tree. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But I was wondering the videos, so it makes no sense to record the already recorded videos. We have them.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Okay.
But Rui, can I also record, because my presentations are not recorded? Can we record in every breakout room?
Yes, the idea is to record each work group leader record each presentation. So if you can do it, I much appreciate. Okay, because it's easier these things. I'm going to stay in the back office for something that appears.
So since we are all together, I don't know if Gaia is already here. I don't see her.
Yes. Hi, sorry.
Hello, Gaia. Good morning.
I had not activated the video, but
I'm sorry, Gaia. So hello, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So just to remember our program today, so we'll have in the morning the sessions dedicated to all the working groups. So it'll be a parallel sessions. Here we really have to choose you can move, you can change rooms, whatever you want. So it's completely free in that. But see, so we have the presentations already scheduled in working group 1, 2, and 3. But depending on time, the leaders can ask if anyone would like to make a presentation that it's not scheduled, so we are free to present if you want, and if there are enough time to do it. We asked pre-recorded presentations in advance for for being more easy in terms of time, to control time, but you can present at the same moment. It's not necessary to have pre-recorded. And then we have a lunch break earlier than yesterday. So it will be noon. And then we'll come back only for the core group. So this will be a restrict meeting only for the members of the core group. And then we'll have 2 hours meeting. A coffee break again, and then we will invite all the MC members to attend the last meeting. Will be very, very important that we will have the most MCM members attending this, the most number possible of people attending this meeting. So this will be for all the MC members who are enrolled for this meeting. And then we'll have the closing lecture with Monica Lab, which is, as I said yesterday, it's pre-recorded with subtitles. I think Monique had already watching it, so
and she will be there during the.
But she will be there also attending with us. And then in the end, of course, we would like to have some time to some comments or questions that we'd like to address her. So we just did it pre-recorded because she's going to give the lecture in French, and for all of us to be able to understand the presentation, we decided that it would be easier this way, that we could introduce the subtitles. And then we will have just say goodbye in the end, and hopefully we'll finish on time in 7:30. So I don't know if Gaia would like to add something.
No, I think we can start with the parallel sessions.
Yes.
So there are a lot of presentations scheduled, and maybe in the frame of the parallel session, if we have remaining time, we can continue the discussion that we had within the working groups yesterday.
Yes, that will be very important if we have time to do it. So once more, thank you very much for joining us, and please enjoy the parallel sessions. I'm sure we'll have a very busy morning, and at least I hope to see you, the MC members, all in the afternoon, and everybody from the cost attending the Monique, because I think the Monique lecture will be very interesting for us to close all this event. And I think it will help us also to frame some of our doubts and the debate we have before. So we can start it now, choosing the rooms.
Okay.
Okay.
So see you. See you.
See
you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Ok.
Giusto?
Enjoy.
Are the rooms according to the numbers?
Sì, ecco, scusa, grazie.
Yes, 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 exactly.
Or is it?
We made it to the room.
We entered without key.
Wow. Amazing.
To get out of it and go back.
So I don't know, we can wait just a little bit more, but first of all, good morning, everybody. Welcome again.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, Costas. Hello, Jasmina. Hello, Tony. Hello, Constantina, Ayel, Nicole, Zana, Teresa, Metka, Elif. So I think the group are here. We are Gaia, just coming now. We are all know each other. So it's a very good step. I think it's the first time that it's happened to me. So we are already introduced. But of course, if you want to say something, please. I don't know if you, I'm saying that we already know all of us, but it's not true. So, because I'm seeing here new faces. So I don't know if you want to just go through the videos, or if you want just to have a brief presentation of all. So
let's go through the videos.
Yes, I think we all know.
Yes, I think so, but I prefer just to ask and confirm everything. So, as you know, you are starting the second day, just a minute, now it's everything okay. And we'll have the 2 videos in our session. I will start with the video of Constantina Costas, and to Constantina, yes, I'm asking if she can present it herself in the scope of the video, doing a certain context for the other research, and after I will pass the video. The second presentation, the video of Constantina, she'll said, but after I can say it again. Is the title is Antiparoshi and its Architects: Histories of Social Forces, Special Politics and Architectural Profession in Greece, 1929-74. So I can advance that Constantina had already done a video that is in our YouTube channel about the same subject. this is it's an impressive document. So I invite all of you to see it if you haven't seen it. So I will pass the word to Constantina Costas. First of all, thank you for your contribution. It's a very important and original subject. So welcome. And if you can just brief a little introduction of yourself and work, it will be great. And after I will put the video.
I don't know, Kostas, do you want to say something before I talk, or?
No, you can start, and maybe I make a few comments after the video.
First of all, for us, I want to thank you for offering us the platform to show this and distribute this video, because it was for us an opportunity to sit down and make the video, first of all, because we had all the material from the oral video interviews, but we haven't yet worked on them to make, you know, a film. So it was for us an opportunity to sit down and work on it and have a platform to disseminate our work. So for this, I believe that Costa Association was, and the program and MCMH was a great opportunity. The video is based on a research we've been running for the last 2 years and a half, entitled, as Ines said, Antiparochy and its Architects, Histories of Social Forces. I won't continue with the title, but it's on the system of antiparochy, which I have, to which I have referred quite often during our meetings. It was the basic system through which Greek cities were built, at least during between the years 1945 and 1985. It was the prime system of housing construction, and through it, the middle class in Greece was also constructed, because through this system, people had the opportunity to give their plots of land to contractors in exchange for apartments in the buildings that contractors would build in this same plot. So in this way, they would gain a lot more than just selling their plots. The land price was multiplying. So both the proprietors and the contractors were gaining from the whole process. And in this way, people were making money, and thus they were becoming Greece's middle class. And for this long period of about 40 years, middle class was living in these typical apartment building blocks, the so-called polykatykías in Greek. So I think that for this long period, the typical apartment mass housing for the middle class in Greece was the polykatykía building block built through the system of antiparochy. And if I may make a comment once again, because I also made it during the working group too, just to close this small introduction. I believe that the templates are now working very well. I believe that they're all inclusive, and especially for us, the Greek team, with this specificity, this thing, the antiparochy, which was hard to put it within the context of mass middle class housing designed by an architect, a certain author, etc. But I think that the only thing that still remains, because I didn't have the opportunity to take part to the round table yesterday, it's that we need now to decide if we need to prepare templates for 3 distinct periods. That is for the first 1 or 2 post-war decades. The second period would be 70s, 80s, and the third period would be contemporary today. So because I as Vlatko noticed yesterday in our group meeting, there are many templates and proposals for 60s, 70s, but there are not many for 30s, 40s, or for contemporary. So if we want to make comparative work and construct a comparative framework in order to make conclusions, I think that we all need to put on ourselves in the difficult for many countries work to see whether there were middle-class housing during the first post-war decades, or if there are today. For us, it's a easy answer for 60s, 70s, but it's not easy for the other 2 periods. But I think that we all need to, all countries need, if we want to, that's my only, the only thing I would add to the whole work, because I think now it's getting in a really good stage, and I think it will, the templates are going to produce wonderful things and comparative opportunities. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I talked too much.
No, it was perfect, Constantina. Thank you so much. I think we'll have just 2 presentations. There are 2 important presentations, but I think we'll have more time by the end to discuss the pending times. But anyway, thank you for your comments. Kostas, do you want to say something about the video before starting?
No, maybe after.
Maybe after, perfect. So if you all agree, I will share the video from Constantina. Please take off your mobile phones like in the cinema, and we will start. Just a minute, just to just a minute. No.
The research project we are running at the National Technical. Hello, I'm Konstantina Kalfa, and I'm an MC member from Greece. I'd like to present you the research project we are running at the National Technical University of Athens, entitled Antiparochie and its Architects, Histories of Social Forces, Spatial Politics, and the Architectural Profession in Greece, 1929-1974. Antiparochie and its Architects is a 3-year collaborative project at the School of Architectural Engineering at NTUA, funded by the Hellenic Foundation for Research and Innovation and the General Secretariat for Research and Technology. The project involves original archival research and the creation of an open, interactive digital archive. It establishes collaborations with scholars from various disciplines and countries and the experienced research team of Mesark Lab, University of Cyprus, to promote a multidisciplinary comparative methodology of analysis. It schedules lectures, public conversations, a workshop in collaboration with UCY, and a one-day conference. The project propounds the critical historical examination of the perhaps most legendary phenomenon of modern Greece, Antiparochie, a quid pro quo arrangement, the exchange of land for new apartments on this land, by means of a particular focus on its architects, A, its informal architects, contractors, builders, and sub-engineers, B, the broader spatial politics and strategies, C, the architectural profession in Greece. The project focuses on the study of the metropolitan area of Athens, Greece's capital city, and a period that spans from 1929, when Law 3741 on horizontal ownership was introduced, to 1974, the end of the Greek military junta. Antipararchy enabled wide access to homeownership in Greece. The type of housing created by this system was the so-called polykatikia, the typical Greek condominium type apartment building built by small-scale building enterprises. Post-war Greek urban landscapes were formed through the repetition of polykatikia buildings as the material proof of the vast and seemingly equal distribution of middle-class housing. The project contributes to an understanding of modern Greek architecture as historically intervened with ad hoc and bottom-up methods of house building and design. It also investigates a wide range of historical issues concerning post-war Greek reconstruction and development, and the construction of social identities and the Greek middle class in particular. The innovative aspects of this research are the updating and critical reconsideration of the existing literature, the activation of Latin archives, for instance, antipararchy contracts, documentary cinema and newsreels, personal archives, etc., and the generation collection of oral testimonies concerning the phenomenon of antipararchy. The project investigates how antipararchy defined the development of post-war Greek architectural culture. It aims to critically revisit its formation and transformations. Some of the research's tasks are an investigation of the relevant archives and ads in the Greek daily press, archival investigation on the policies and the political discourse on antipararchy through the study of the parliamentary archives, oral testimonies guided by semi-structured interviews recorded on film, archival research on antipararchy contracts, research on the relevant architectural archives, investigation of relevant architectural articles and texts, an analysis of the legal framework that enabled the dissemination of the system of antipararchy. So here is the diagram of the work packages and tasks. The involved persons are me as the principal investigator, Professor Panagiotis Tournikiotis, Emilia Athanasiou, Stavros Alifrakis, Christos Kritikos, and Xenia Sotiropoulou. And here are two of our publications associated with the project: Antipararchy and its Architects, Greek Architectures in Failure, and a book which is written in Greek, Self-Sheltering Now, The Invisible Side of the American Aid to Greece. Dissemination. I will now present some dissemination activities which are related to cost action. The first one was the uploading of one video we prepared for the MCMH platform, a short film with oral testimonies on the history of antipararchy, which basically is an introduction to an unfamiliar audience in public on what the system of antipararchy is about through the persons who had personal experience from its evolution since its beginning. The second is a session at the European Association for Urban History Cities in Motion 2021, entitled Internal Immigrants and the Making of a Modern House. The session is co-chaired by Panagiotis Tournikiotis and me. and it explores the social, political, and cultural matrix that shaped internal immigrants as both the subjects and agents of their respective countries' post-war transition to modernity by virtue of constructing their own houses. Papers submitted and participants to the sessions are Ana Esteban Maluenta, professor at the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, Marisa Dremaite, who is a member of This Coast Action, professor at the Vilnius University, Sila Karatas Basoglu, a PhD student at the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, Mariam Safie, PhD at the University of Queensland, Johanna Heikkonen, postdoc researcher at Aalto University, and Christos Kritikos, a member of our team at the National Technical University of Athens. Also, we were about to run a short-term scientific mission, which was unfortunately postponed due to COVID-19, but hopefully we can arrange it for late September 2021. Silak Karatas Basoglu will join us for a study visit to Athens. The purpose of our meeting will be to discuss and comparatively analyze the post-war policies and models of middle-class mass housing in our respective countries, Greece and Turkey, as we believe that both of our countries followed very similar trajectories of post-war development and led to a certain type of modernization through housing, involving speculative and cooperative models of apartmentalization, as we may call it. Lastly, we'd like to announce that our proposal for a thematic section at the ABE Journal was accepted, and the call it is open since the 1st of March. The editors are me, Panagiotis Tourikiotis, and Stavros Alifragis, and the title of the call for the section is Small-Scale Building Enterprise and Global Home Ownership in the Age of Economic Expansion. So if you're interested, you can read the call and you can submit your papers. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Hi again. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much, Konstantin. I think it's a very important, I'm sure that it's a very important document, because you had just a framework and your research project that fits in our action, and also the networking tools that we have in our action. So you did through your presentation this link that it's very important for us behind the subject that you have in the launch. But I think in that topic, Kostas maybe help me more to contextualize it.
Yes, I can say just a few words before the next presentation. I also think that Konstantina has done an excellent job so far, and I want to thank her for this as well.
Thank you, Kostas.
You're welcome. It's true that the Greek case is very different from other cases that we see in this research program, and it's not just let's say the phenomenology of urban housing, middle class mass housing in Greece that is different. It's the mechanism itself, and it's the way mass housing reflects a production or a way of production of space, which is completely different. And if I am to recall yesterday's talk at at the start of our program about Belgrade. It is characteristic that this case of Greece opens up a new way of discussing the city in terms of, you know, words like politics, democracy, society, development, expansion, and all this. And this is because most social scientists and most historians would agree that this model of producing space in Greece was pretty much democratic, not in the way that a democratic model would be in a socialist country like Yugoslavia of the 60s and the 70s, but in another way, in a way that it was something that it was kind of orchestrated by the state, not state-driven, not designed by the state, but through the legislation, it was the state was providing, let's say, the limits of this kind of expansion and development, and the authors and the protagonists of this development were the citizens of the city themselves. So the citizens being the owners of small plots, together with contractors, which were not big companies. They were not the private sector. They were not banks. So, for example, the percentage of loans that were used in this development was really small in comparison to other European cities. So banks did not really contribute to this kind of development. It was just citizens. Citizens mean most of the times families, one family, together with a contractor, or we have many examples where the family itself was the contractor at the same time. They were doing a kind of collaboration. They were joining their funds, and they were building an apartment building, this polykatikia, a small apartment building, which was of a smaller scale and not more than 5 or 6 stories high. So this is that was a problem in terms of the cost action, how we are going to implement this kind of development, which is rather representative in Greece. As I said yesterday, the other kind of development, state-driven, designed in one phase, following a typology of the, let's say, the tall building or the long building that we see as typical. This, even in the best times, was not more than 3%, 3.5%, not more than that. So the rest of it was pretty much antiparochi and polykatikia. So this is a problem how we're going to implement in the atlas and in the template our case in Greece. Of course, we have other examples as well, and we included in the templates another example from Tavros, which was the organized, let's say, mass housing, state-driven, etc. And this goes together with what Dalit commented on yesterday in talking about Israel, that we have many examples, not just in Greece, but in other countries as well, that we have the repetition of one building, the repetition of one element, which is what we used to do in vernacular architecture and in traditional architecture. So how we are going to implement this in this atlas and the templates and the program, it's a challenge for us. But I think that, as I said yesterday as well, we should try to find a way to include all these alternative examples from countries like Greece and other countries. Or we saw Naples yesterday, an example from Naples, which was similar to what we were trying to describe when we talk about Greece. So these are a few comments from my part. Don't know if Konstantina wants to add anything, but yeah, we entered this program, actually, this cost, having in mind that we should open the types of middle class mass housing to types like the Greek case and Antiparachi, and we will try to find more ways to do this.
Thank you, Costas. And now, as you said, and how we see yesterday, we have more cases similar in different countries, and for that, and they are unusual when you think for the first time about middle class mass housing. So I think it will be a very important input in our in our action, as you said, because there are cases unexpected and unplanned and unexpected in the scope of housing. So I don't know how you prefer or think it's the best. If anyone wants to ask something to Konstantina now, or if you prefer, I think it's maybe better go forward with the other presentation, and after, in the end, because maybe can arise more questions. So
just a little question to Konstantina. Do you think it will be interesting for me to ask Ana Esteban about the project in Madrid in order to make one of them to the template? In our
concerning the session call, Ana Esteban submitted a proposal in collaboration with forget the name, I think it's Celia Gonzalez, the collaborator, concerning the Previ projects in Peru. And the loans they had from Spanish architecture. So I think this is not a project that would interest MCMH for an MCMH template, but we can ask her if she has another project, and we can ask her to participate, of course, because I think she's a very good researcher, and probably she will have things to give to the project, of course.
Okay,
I can ask her myself. I don't know if you know her, but I can ask her myself, of course.
Okay.
So
may I ask a question? Hello?
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course.
Hello, Konstantina. First of all, thanks for your presentation. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned about there is a common some issue between Greece and Turkey about housing, especially after the Marshall Plan.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the Turkey, I can't say any prototype between the cities. For example, Istanbul is different case, but I'm living in Düzcesi. Düzcesi is more rural characteristic and different housing process. And what is the common feature between the Greece and Turkey? Could you please give some points?
First of all, this was something like a research hypothesis rather than a conclusion, which we are going to try to investigate together with Sela Karatas-Basoglu. I was referring to this system, or I don't know how you could call it, which in Turkey, the words are, I think, Yap Sat or something like that. And during which small-scale contractors were building for the middle class rather than from rural populations or for the poor. And now we are talking about, the speculative entrepreneurial activities that refer to the middle class rather you know, some social housing regime or something like that. So as far as I have read from in the literature, there was a rise of these kind of activities. I don't know in which city in Turkey yet, but in Turkey during this after a 1965 law, which was I believe similar to
it's about starting the privatization process.
Yes, and yes, the apartmentalization, as we may call it, process. But still, we haven't really come to a conclusion about this. I believe that the product would not be the same. In Turkey, we can't find the polykatecias, you know, the same apartment building type that we have in Greece, or maybe we can't find it in the same extent, in the same degree, but we are looking for the same mechanisms and you know, how can I say it, the degree at which small entrepreneurial building practices may have prevailed or not during a certain period, for us always. So yes.
Thank you so much. It's take my attention. I'm so grateful if you can share more results with us. I really wonder about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, but yes, of course, there are a lot of differences, but there may be some similarities, I believe, and I would like to investigate these similarities in order to better understand also antiparochi.
Thank you.
So I'm very happy what is happened here, because this is what is supposed and expected by the action, by the cost action, is link the research and how we can figure out in the different countries represent the same interest. So what is from here, from this presentation, with Teresa, that she's from Spain, maybe she knows the Ana Esteban. So we start to link. Elif want to know more about this and the possibility to understand the Turkey context and the Greek context. So this is exactly what we have to looking for through the different events and networkings that we have allowed. So thank you, but keep thinking about your questions, because we have more time to discuss them after the second presentation. So next, I will ask to Leonor Matos and Ana Vaz Milheiro, that you already know, just to have a brief presentation. I know that Ana wants to share something with us. So please, you have go forward. Ana, you have to unmute.
Okay, so sorry for this. Okay, so hello, my name is Ana Vaz Milheiro. So, and I'm here today with Leonor Matos Silva. We are going to present first a very small presentation, the context of our presentation before. So it's quite different from what Constantina did. And I really appreciate the presentation of Constantina, because it's exactly what we pretend to do in our cost, which is showing a research and then show how the cost tools can help in that research by scientific short missions or ETC grants, or launch an open access call for a journal. So it's exactly what we think. It really serves the cost, and it's the purpose of the cost, to link people, to link research, and to present different tools for disseminate that research. So thank you very much, Constantina, for presenting exactly what, in my opinion, as a share of this cost action, what in my opinion is exactly the spirit of a cost action, and the spirit of one as ours. So what we are going to present a very, very different perspective and a very, very different work. Leonor presented herself yesterday. She probably would like to, she will present again today, but I will make a short presentation of also Leonor to you to understand the context. So Leonor Matos Silva, she did a PhD on education, of architectural education in Portugal, mainly in the Lisbon School. And she's a former student of mine, so we work for several years now together. And I asked Leonor if she could, in a way, understand how housing programs were teaching in Portuguese schools and how there were the debate about housing. Since she's an expert on a very important period after, a little before the revolution and before the Portuguese became really a European country, with being part of the European Union. So she studied that moment, which is very, very important in terms of Portuguese cultural architectural culture. And so I asked her if she could, I gave her kind of a challenge. Should you think we could think about how these housing programs were introduced in our schools? It's a recent program. It's not so. It was really a late introduction in our context, and it was really important in the end of the dictatorship period and in the beginning of the revolution and after the revolution, and so we would figure out how to do it, and this mutual interest became more clear for us with this. I always have this ambition to use the research project in our classrooms and to involve our graduate students in research projects, and I do it for several years now, and I found some of my colleagues, I found them in the classroom, so they are, most of them, former students of mine, and they continue to work, and they really understand how research can be a very interesting occupation for an architect in the classroom, doing things like that. So we were trying to introduce our subject in the classroom. This European middle class mass housing, it started before our cost. This was a research project with Portuguese funds. It's with me and Inês and other colleagues like Mónica Pacheco and also Els and Gaia. We invited them to make this project a few years ago, to make a proposal to an application to the Portuguese funds. We have only 5 case studies: Belgium, Italy, Portugal, Angola, and Macau, China, which was the last 2 were former Portuguese colonies. And so we started by this research project, and then we decided to make this application for the costs action, and now we are here together. So everything started in a way with a project that we applied here in Portugal, and it was we started before with before introducing Gaia and Els in our project. We had a first one. So we are doing this for several years, and we try to introduce that in our classroom. And I'm in the new school for 3 years now in Faculty of Architecture in the University of Lisbon, and they asked me to be responsible for a unit which is related with interiors history, so related with architects who want to work in renewal projects and in interiors design. And we were here in this health crisis. I did not exactly know what to do with my students how to introduce the students. They are fourth year students in this research. So I decided to do what is more conventional to do, to invite some researchers from our project, not exactly from our cost, but from our project. So I invite, of course, Inês, which is the principal investigator with me, and I invited Gaia and Els because they were in our team. So we decided to make these lectures for the students, introducing the different cases in Europe. First, Inês introduced the examples that she studied in her PhD, and now she's studying in her postdoc related to the former Portuguese colonies, not only in Africa, but also in America and in Asia. And then Gaia, of course, introduced all her work related with the middle class interiors in Italy, related with this specific period. She calls the economic miracle. And Els introduced the subject related with Belgium, also related with her PhD. Yesterday she talked a little about it, about this. She studied in the perspective of an ideological approach. And so she introduced us in a very different world in terms of Portuguese perspective, because she introduced in terms of the socialist view, and then the Christian Catholic view in Belgium, which was very, very interesting to understand how these two communities with two different purposes and aims were able to create an image and some purpose for middle class, and to, in a way, also to use housing to educate the communities and to be kind of a social elevator, if you want. So we have this conference. They are some of the conference are. We can use our website to download the lecture, or at least part of the material. So we started with Inês, and then we have also a professor from the University of São Paulo, and then that was all. So this was the introduction I wanted to do before we present our video. And so the students had these, they attend these lectures. Also, they attend my classes, of course. It was only focused on the 20th century interiors design. And then I didn't know exactly how to involve them. And I thought maybe it could be interesting because we could not be together face to face. We are having classes by Zoom. It could be interesting if they could produce a video, a very short video, 2 minutes in the maximum, related with one compartment in their own apartments or house, that they could they could introduce the history of that compartment in interior design. So there could be a kitchen, could be a living room, could be a room, any kind of rooms, could be the toilet, whatever. They could choose the corridor, the wall. They should choose only one compartment and talk a little or analyze the compartment in terms of historical analysis, typological analysis, technical analysis. And so we receive 70, how many, Leonor? Maybe 60, how many movies 63 short movies. And then now we are in the process of selecting them. This small selection of 4 that we are presenting today, it was Leonor who selected. And then, of course, I asked Leonor for help because I couldn't do it alone. And because I wanted really to involve Leonor also in this idea of how to use the housing programs in education, not only in terms of studio, but also in other more theoretical units like ours. And so I asked them to choose a compartment, to make a kind of analysis, and we received a lot of different things. And also for us, it also was very interesting because we realized the backgrounds of our students, which sometimes it's a little, maybe it's not very fair to do it, but it was also interesting to understand the backgrounds of our students. So nowadays we have students that came from all kinds of social backgrounds, with all kinds of housing experience, different housing experience. And since immigrant students to Erasmus students, we have lots of different students, and it was very interesting to understand how they deal with their own housing and how to relate with their own housing when they are in the process of learning architecture. So I found it quite interesting to do it. And what we are going to present here, it's a selection that Leonor did for us today. We are now starting to choose, to select the videos to produce what we wanted to call a kind of ideal apartment for middle class. How the ideal apartment, because all of our students came from different middle class. So we have upper middle class, we have lower middle class, we have middle class, we have everything that we have the same problem that we have on cost, defining what is middle class. So we have, of course, immigrant case also. And so Leonor chose these 4 videos. Well, 2 of them are in universal language. One that has no one explaining anything, or only the images explain it's related with the bathroom. And the second is related with the kitchen, and it's made by Erasmus students from Sweden. And the last 2 are done by Portuguese students. It's in Portuguese. We were not able to introduce the subtitles, but it's not important. It's only you understand the message anyway. And the last one, it's particularly interesting because it's an immigrant family, Portuguese immigrant family in Switzerland. And we can realize that because the student is telling about his history. So the student is studying in Portugal now, but he comes from an Portuguese immigrant family in Switzerland, and he recorded the life in the kitchen, how his family use the kitchen in Switzerland. And for us, it was very interesting, this movie, because it's completely different the way a Portuguese family would probably use a kitchen in Portugal, because the typology of the kitchen, it's quite different from our own typologies and what is allowed by the Portuguese rule in terms of built restrictions. So I don't know if Leonor wants to add. Leonor, maybe you can introduce yourself also before we start.
Thank you. So I'm Leonor. I'm working with, like Anna said, I'm working with Anna and Inês in this research project. Anna pretty much said most of what I could say about these videos and about this research. Maybe we could, after the video presentation, we could discuss a little more the issue of middle class and how the background of these students, which is very interesting because they are achieving architectural sensibility. So, sorry. So sorry. They're studying to be architects, and how they most of them live in their parents' house. So so let's see the video, and then we may have a chat on it.
And then we have some comments. So here it's our original research project, middle class mass housing in Europe, Africa, and Asia. And maybe some of the problems that we have in our cost is because we were very oriented for our own research, and now combined with our costs. So let's see our.
Sorry, Anna, you have to share the screen with sound.
Ah, sorry. Peraí,
You are
deixa eu
not
ver.
listening.
Ok. Então o que é que eu fiz mal? Ah, porque ainda não começou, pera. Let me see. Can you listen to now?
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where those treetops listen and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow, the snow.
So the first one is very visual and graphic, and the girl really didn't film her own bathroom. She decided to make something more graphic, but we found it could be an approach. The second, it's more historical analysis.
Sweden's population increased dramatically during the beginning of the 20th century, and as the population went up, the living standards went down. Solving the housing crisis therefore became a main political goal of the time. The term folkhemmet, meaning the home of the people, was central in the 20th century's social democratic vision of Sweden's future as a country defined by equality, not the least in the accessibility to proper living standards. Based on the functionalist ideas of the time, Hemmens Forskningsinstitut was created to investigate and formulate the new norms and rules to be used for the mass production of residential buildings. Through scientific experiments measuring time efficiency and strain on the users in different setups, they searched for the optimal kitchen. The kitchen you're looking at now, as many others in Sweden, is based on measurements and ideas from the experiments of Hemmens Forskningsinstitut during the 40s and 50s. For example, the kitchen sink is placed in the middle and close to the stove for easy access. The sink is made in stainless steel and the floor is made of linoleum for easy cleaning. Under the sink is a built-in cutting board which pulls out to maximize the working area in the small space. This kitchen is a so-called laboratoriekök, a laboratory kitchen. It is named not after the laboratories in which it was conceived, but by how its use is as optimized as the laboratory of a scientist. The kitchen's sole purpose is to prepare food. There is no space not used in the cooking process, and as such, no place to sit down to eat or socialize, much unlike the ruling ideals of recent years.
So this was clearly influenced by the presentations of from our guests, our lectures from Gaia, from Els, and also from Inês, clearly. So we could understand how the students use the lecture they attend in different levels. We would find quite interesting, and also how they could understand the space that they are using now, they are living now, in terms of historical approach. So we find that these kind of results for us were very satisfactory for us, because it was exactly what our intention was for them to have conscience, so to gain self-conscious of the historical process that lead to the space they were using at that moment. And now we'll see that the Portuguese students' approach to a living room, which is quite different. It's more related with the problems of design and comfort and thermal comfort and views. So it's much more related with design process and less related with more theoretical or more historical approach.
Neste vídeo escolhi a sala como objeto de estudo, por constituir a área da casa onde a maior parte das interações ocorre, sendo um espaço comum e polivalente de grande importância. Isto, no entanto, nem sempre foi assim. A história da sala de estar e a sua associação a sensações de conforto inicia-se após a Revolução Industrial. No período vitoriano, no lugar da sala de estar existia a drawing room, sendo esta uma zona muito formal. Com o século XX, torna-se um espaço de convívio associado aos novos aparelhos, sendo que a televisão passa a ser o elemento central, mantendo-se assim até hoje.
It's in Portuguese, I'm sorry for that, but she's dealing with, you can understand how the living room was used in the past and the different nowadays, and especially with the introduction of television, which was one of the subjects that Gaia introduced in her lecture with a very precise way. And so it's quite interesting to see how the students were able to understand and to interpreting their own their perspective from the lectures.
Encorajar a demonstração de gosto pessoal, permitindo que cada sala e casa de modo geral passe a refletir cada vez mais quem nela habita. Caracterizada.
And now she's going to talk about the modern process of design, the idea of using light and the idea of the orientation of the house. So she was going to show a kind of a periphery of Lisbon. So she's interested in explore this idea that the living room, because it's a living room, it explores the south orientation in terms of sun and more wealthy orientation also.
Vãos horizontais. A minha sala é o espaço com a melhor recepção de luz natural, orientada a sul e numa zona de Lisboa que permite a ligação com o envolvente e contacto constante entre natureza e cidade. A planta da sala organiza-se de acordo com as suas funções.
And then more functionalist, she explains how the plan is organized.
Convívio, estar, refeição e leitura. A área destinada ao espaço de refeição é a mais associada às entradas de luz principais.
So the milling, where they have the main meals.
Agradável para trabalhar. Em oposição, encontra-se o canto de leitura associado à varanda. A área mais ampla e principal é então o espaço de estar, que engloba uma poltrona e um sofá em posição central relativa à área, marcada por uma mesa e um móvel ao comprido para televisão e outros aparelhos. O pavimento e o mobiliário são de tons escuros, contrapondo-se então com outros mais claros que refletem a luz e criam um ambiente iluminado, mas não de forma excessiva, criando-se uma harmonia cromática.
So now she's talking about the materials, the different materials that cover the floors and also the colors of the walls and so on, and the light, how the light interferes with the choice of materials.
É inegável que a nossa privacidade é essencial, mas considero que não vivemos uns sem os outros. E são estes espaços sociais, tendo sido estipulados pelo ser humano como espaços de estar comum, que permitem este aspecto. É a arquitetura que faz os espaços, mas são as pessoas que lhes dão vida e adaptam às suas vivências. Devem ser projetados de modo a poderem ser apropriados por quem neles habita. A sala tem como característica a ausência específica de programa, permitindo que cada um utilize modos diferentes. Permite receber amigos e familiares, conviver, trabalhar, ler e descansar. No fundo.
And then in the end, you say that the room, it's the place that everything happens in the house, and so we can use it whatever we like to use it in different contexts.
O único espaço pode abranger uma imensidão de atividades, o que o torna verdadeiramente único.
A cozinha tem sido sempre uma parte.
And now these were for us very interesting, as I said before, because he's from a Portuguese family who lives in Switzerland. And well, he was going to explain, but I think the images will be enough to explain us.
Os interiores. Não importa a cultura, a época, o estilo, o movimento arquitetónico, comida tem sido sempre sinónimo de convívio. A cozinha é um compartimento interessante porque reflete a sociedade através da forma que ela tem. No início, a cozinha era uma sala fechada e pouco prática.
So he starts to saying that the woman were the kitchen was the world of the woman in the beginning, so it was a kind of a closed room, and then it's become to open, and we'll see that his kitchen is really open to all the space of the house.
As mulheres passavam lá muito tempo a cozinhar, esperando pela chegada do marido do trabalho, com o jantar pronto e a casa limpa. Hoje em dia, a sociedade mudou, tudo acelerou. Este conceito de trabalhar 8 horas por dia já não está adaptado a uma vida familiar. Muitas vezes, Ambos os pais trabalham e quando chegam a casa, o jantar não os espera. É uma nova tarefa que, acrescentada ao mesmo tempo que está a partilhar tempo com a sua família.
Because he's saying that now the parents has to share the work at home because everybody works, not only the man but also the woman works outside. So the kitchen must express this idea of working together, the family working
Tanto seu
together.
filho com os trabalhos de casa, ou então a passar tempo à frente do vosso programa favorito na televisão. Por isso hoje a cozinha abre-se. A atividade de cozinhar é partilhada com a família. O contacto está sempre cá. É agora uma extensão da sala de estar. O meu apartamento tem uma configuração que achei interessante, por estar na Suíça, onde pode estar muito frio. Lá existe uma tradição chamada l'apéro, que consiste em beber um copo de álcool com aperitivos enquanto a refeição está a ser preparada. A ilha central da cozinha e a varanda são usadas principalmente para isto. Como uma varanda na Suíça só pode ser utilizada confortavelmente 4 meses durante o ano, ter esta varanda coberta dá muito jeito. Esse tipo de varandas lá na Suíça chama-se Zwischenklimat, o que se traduz por entre climas, que não é fora nem dentro. Tal como a minha cozinha funciona da mesma maneira. Basta abrir as janelas e já não há separação.
As you can see, our main idea was exactly to introduce the students in our debates, to understand how the students live and their expectations, and also to understand how not only in the level of the postgraduate students, but in level on graduation students, how could projects like ours be useful in a way, and how they could receive our projects, and also what was the level of understanding that a graduate student could have when confronted with research like the one with Gaia or Els or Inês are doing outside the more teaching compromises, or more, in this research on a more research level. So how did the students would understand this kind of activity besides the design, which is more usually the students are more connect more directly to the practice and the architectural education. And well, it's, like I said, it's a work in progress. We didn't yet did the final film. We are going to make 1 or 2 final films using the 63 examples that the students send us, and in this idea of finding the ideal apartment for middle-class mass housing, in the words of the students themselves. So we want to use the words of the students to describe this ideal apartment based on their own experience and in their own knowledge. So this is a kind of experience that Gaia and we have talk a lot about it, how to give some examples that could be useful to use in the classroom context, not only by us, but by others, and to involve these very early students in our research, and also in the pleasure of making research. So we have Leonor, do you want to something?
No, I think.
Are you still there, Leonor?
What?
Maybe we can ask if anyone wants to approach first. Thank you so much, Anna and Leonor. I think it's for sure important support that you could link research, teaching, and our action. And that has a goal or a challenge of our action. It was very well done. And besides the content that each student show about a part of the apartment, looking for the ideal apartment. So first of all, I want to ask if anyone wants to ask something to our guests regarding the video that they have just finished to saw. So I think, first of all, there are any questions directly to Anna and Lunur. So if we can open a bigger discussion about the importance of the behind of these two films that we have already seen, and how we can win and have our best goals through the videos. They are, as I said yesterday, I think the videos was an idea that we have because the pandemic, it was a consequence of that. But today I realized that it's a very important support. First of all, because it's support that will continue after ending our action. This kind of support will be forever, and in that approach, it's very, very important. So please feel free to comment what we have just seen, or if you have another ideas to accomplish both of these or another ones.
I just wanted to say that the video from Konstantina and their research team and our research team, it's one of our big success in our YouTube channel. We have already 3,000 and almost 400 views. So we are very happy because it gave us a lot of advertise for us the video, and it's quite interesting this idea of trying to put our research in this kind of format and more video format, because nowadays it's really very easy, and also for the students. I asked them before recording these videos to look to our website and to find examples in our website. And I think for them it's become much more, they were doing this for the first time. It was the first time that I addressed them to do it. So it's my first experience also in asking them to do videos from their own houses or from parts of their own houses. And they use our videos or in our website as a kind of an inspiration, or and one of the most quoted, it was of course Konstantina video. They really enjoyed, and I think it's quite interesting because the Greek reality is very, very different from ours, but to understand the message of the film. So congratulations, Konstantina, once more for your work. Thanks, and thank you so much for introducing your work in our cost.
Anna, may I comment on this just briefly?
Of
you
course.
Hear me? Eh?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should all be more active on Facebook, because maybe one of the reasons that this video has so many views is that some of us shared it or wrote something on Facebook. So we already have a Facebook page of our action. So if everyone is a little bit more active, we are many members in this action, we will see those numbers. I'm not one of those who think that, you know, the clicks on a video mean anything really, but since we have really high quality work, why not to share it with a much more wider audience?
But for these kind of for these students, the Konstantina movie, it's a little difficult because they don't see nothing more than 5 minutes long. It's enough for them. So it's very difficult to attend a movie or to watch a movie of more than 20 minutes.
That's
but
true.
Anyway, I asked them to watch, and I think they watch it, of course. and I think they really appreciate it. And the reason why, well, the reason we don't probably use Facebook is I don't have a Facebook. I don't know how to do it, but I completely support your idea, because we really have to use all the tools that we have, especially for reach these young students. I think it's very important. There are these kind of, as I said before, I usually talk a lot about this with Gaia. There is a kind of this lap between research and teaching, but most of us are both professors and researchers. So we do it like we were two different persons, and which is not good, not for us, not for the students. And I think we should debate how to make our research more accessible to the architectural students. This is also to other students, for social science students and so on. I think our project has all the potentialities to reach not only architecture students, but social science students, economic students, other kind of lower students. We saw that, for instance, Rachel, it's an expert on laws and so on. So I think we should also give a more educational perspective in our course. We could have a more educational perspective in this case to educate the future generations of researchers in our area.
Very important. Dalit, you want to comment something? And just to close what Costas and Anna said, that is true. The video of Constantine, it was the first time of the back office that we linked with the social networking. So I'm not the expert on that field, but definitely it's important. So between all of us, one are better at doing one thing, the others, and for that it's so important that we work as a team, because we did the difference. I'm saying this because maybe Zana and Teresa and the other videos don't have such in the beginning the high numbers, because it's really important, this background of the social networking. So Dalit, please.
Yes, I have to say I'll try and try to connect what we saw with up to now. And I have to say, Anna, I'm not into the video. I don't like being filmed. I don't like all the records and the Zoom just, blow me into this. And I have to say that most of my research is not about apartments. It's about what's outside the apartments. And I was really amazed that I really got into it. All the videos from the students, there was something that there was many types, many rooms, many types, different, concepts of having videos. And if I'm thinking about what Constantina, yes, I have to say, sorry, did, if we can link the atlas, we have a video, I think we do have a video in the template that each one of us can take a video of this neighborhood, either from the neighborhood I can think of. I can take a picture from above. It's like from the mountain, you can see it, and then walk inside the neighborhood in certain spaces, and we can link all the videos into one movie that you have, like, I don't know how many minutes from each space, from each place, into one, 15 minutes movie that we can see all the mass building, middle house building, whatever. I'm not getting into it. It's not my my field of research. So I see the mass building, but I wouldn't go into the exact classes, but maybe if we can use what Vlatko did with the statistics, which I liked it. I loved it. And take areas from the 60s, from the 50s, and give some statistics inside. Okay, we have the statistics, and so we can have both videos and research, like statistics. And I don't know how it can be not a long movie, or then we can divide it into, I don't know, the eastern part of Europe, the western part of Europe. We can edit. We can do something very sophisticated. Well, not sophisticated, clear, but sophisticated. If you understand what I mean. But from each one of us, from each country, I think it can be very, very interesting and can be very international, European way of thinking of adding it. So it can be more visual. We can have the atlas, which can be more publication type. And I like the idea that working together with Utah into a one piece. So we can both have, I'm looking for, a certain publication that are real academic publications, but I think the video can, I don't know, can get audience to really look into the really publication type. I mean, anyone. So it can be linked to everywhere in the Facebook and short. You can cut it into short, pieces. You can add it into one piece. We can think about a lot of different ideas, which I really liked it. I mean, it gives me like an idea. I'm gonna steal from you, Anna, and the idea, and take it into the city. My main research is about the quality of the area, like if the area is walkable, safe, and all that. And I'm just thinking of, how I can do it with a student, that they can walk in streets and tell me how they feel. And what you did in the apartment is like, really, what is the apartment? And from the apartment, you can see the view from different areas, which is, connects with what I do. So it's really, I wasn't thinking that this can work for me, the thing with video, but he showed me that I can try it. And I really liked it. So.
Thank you, Dalit. First of all, it just has the beginning. I'm very happy that we can hear doing networking. That is what's the best that we can achieve with our action. But I want to say also, Dalit, that idea, and we are all of the working group one, so we can link both open issues. So the idea of put a button with a video link, or the interviews could be postcats also, that I have this idea this morning. So all the persons that can put inside the descriptive fields, because there are not enough space, they can record the audio like a postcard. And the idea of the videos is like exactly that. We can set 5 minutes, for instance, for each video about each case study. After, depends what we receive, we can do a video of each country, we can do a video of the West or West Europe, and at the end, we can do a huge documental support with all countries represented. So I think we are in a good way. I really think so.
And
Francis,
to add Vlatko's statistics, which
no, it's not one for the other. It's not one for the other. We have to go forward with all, because we will take different conclusions or different interpretations of each part. So it's not one instead the other, but it's go step by step as a working progress, involving other researchers, involving students. We will try to extend this, but we must have common beginnings for all. So we have to set that. And after, we have more freedom to go forward with the supports that are more available and useful for us.
Yes.
Good. Francisca, do you want to say something, please?
To add something, since we are talking about tools and teaching and involving students, but it will be very brief and maybe it could be something that we also could use. I teach in a University of Design in a bachelor class of interior design students. And for example, I didn't be so brave as Hannah to challenge the students with videos because I think it was very challenging. But for example, a tool that I use and it really works well is to ask students, for example, for manifesto images, and I use a lot the collage technique. And I wanted to show you something, for example, of the past year, I don't know if you can see, of the past year exercise, of the last year's exercise. It was a reflection about COVID, about housing, about dwelling. But I think also could be interesting to, I don't know, or to launch a call or to, I don't know, I think they really tell us something, and they could tell us something about housing, about mass housing, about neighbors, and etc. I was just sharing this tool that I use. I will interrupt. Thank you.
If I may,
sorry,
I may say,
I want
Francisca,
maybe.
If I may say something.
Yeah, sorry.
No. If I say, I think it's a huge idea to do this kind of calls for the students, because we are always talking about the young generations and the tools that they use to express themselves. And we decided to use the video because, of course, PowerPoint presentations on Zoom, it's awful. We know it because we are always doing it for the students. And they really know how to use these new tools. And your college were extraordinary and so beautiful and so powerful. So I think this kind of ideas can bring these students to our websites, to our research, and also to take as a professors, we do research to be better professors, right? This is one of our personal aims. We want to be better professors, so we research. And of course, we have to use the instruments and the tools that the students are able to do it. I couldn't record a movie. For me, it's completely impossible. That's why I ask help to the students, and I couldn't do it. But I think we should increase this kind of tools that for them are more easier to communicate. And at the same time, they can learn how to use reference. They can learn how to be more self-conscious about the space they are using, the space they are going to design in the future. They can understand where it came from, where the roads of the space they are using. Some of them, they don't have conscience of their own house. They live in apartments, but then they don't realize where the meaning of the apartment, how the apartment is structured, why it's structured in this way, the typology. They can identify these kind of elementary typologies in their own home, in their own apartment. And so I think we could start doing that. And I think action like us, who deals with middle class, because as I said, most of our students are middle class. They come from different backgrounds, but they are middle class like us. So it's the same language. You can deal with them. We can understand the space they are using and they are inhabiting. So I think it's quite important to try to do this kind of dialogue with them. So thank you very much for sharing your experience, Francisca.
You're welcome. For example, I did a workshop on collages and we choose as case study and as a place to collect elements, pictures, and material. For example, middle class neighborhood in Porto, Bairro Ramalde, with a student, and they needed to picture it, to collect objects and details of the windows, and then they did the collage and they worked on that case study, and it could be something like that. Thank you. Sorry.
No, thank you, Francisca. It's a very good idea, and of course it's one more, but could be linked to our case studies, or for instance to a country. So I think the idea of doing a workshop, for instance, I don't know how it could work in the virtual format, but I think it's a very good idea. We can think about and go forward for sure. So I want to ask, and besides the program or the official program, as Francisca did, if anyone wants to share in the briefing, of course, and in the contents of we are doing, if anyone wants to share something, please feel free for do it. 1, 2, 3. I think there is no more approaches. So anyone wants to ask, comment something about the videos or what we have seen until now?
Okay. I want to comment. First of all, I want to thank you, Constantina and Anna. This was really great. And I like Constantina work, this approach of non-planned residential area, that constructive elements that they are repeating, that is really very good approach. So we will see on the area what will happen. And I want to comment, Greek and Turkey have the same climate, so it's not so far. So yeah, those are two connections. You are in the same climate area, so very small, like similar. So also I want to comment Anna. Anna, very good. I like this. My God, light. I can only say natural light in all building is the first approach on every level. If you don't have natural light inside of every building, we could not talk about anything. So this is like very good starting points, and I don't have any comment. I'm enjoying this morning.
Thank you, Zana.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zana. No, but it's important because Zana always see and link behind what the case studies with the energy issues. But what she's saying, it's one more idea to close different contexts, because we can do it all also through the energy issues. It could be a topic that can cross different countries. I would just ask before sending, after we'll see what we want to do, but I will kindly ask Teresa to just comment your experience that you did in your video. Teresa and Carla did a video on an interview of an architect that built important complex on middle class mass housing in Barcelona called La Paresa, if I'm not saying bad. And it's a different format that we have seen so far, because it's an interview that it's also possible to do it. So Teresa, if you can just giving an idea of your experience of the video, we will appreciate, because it's one more idea. And yeah, okay, thank you. Teresa, you are unmute. En la barra abajo. ¿Lo ves? La izquierda. Just a minute, please. Ahora, Teresa, bien.
Well, the idea was to, I discovered that the work of the project of La Pallaresa was the topic, the main topic was to mix social housing with middle class housing, and to ask really if it was interesting to mix them. That now, at the beginning in Spain, we were building housing for low cost housing and separate from middle class. And now more and more we are trying to mix them in order to integrate, not to build ghettos, but to make the mix the people and increase the relationship. And I think that is one interesting topic to explore, because more of the housing that was built in the 50s and 60s at the beginning were absolutely ghettos, and now more little by little they have been increasing the income of the people, and then become more middle class housing. And the idea of present project was to ask the architects to show and to show the plans, to explain what happened. And I think that is a very interesting way to ask architects to speak about their work and explain the experience after some years, if it has worked or it hasn't worked. And well, we can continue to do another experience like this.
Thank you, Teresa. Because it's important to have an idea of how we can. They are just ideas, so but how it's possible to find and to develop different supports of what we are doing. So I don't know how you want to. I think there are no more questions about the videos and how we can get. Yes, Anna.
Yes,
please.
No, just because we have here also the Maria.
Yes, I will ask now.
If you, I don't know if you want to.
Yes, of course I want. I will ask now. Maria, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, good morning.
Actually, I just, good morning to everybody. I just wanted to say, to raise my hand to join conversation. So it's just like you read my mind. Well, actually, I wanted to share also my experience with video making. I also did one short video work for MCMH, and actually, and also did with students, very similar exercise like Anna did, also with students with interior design, but we didn't record apartments, but the common space in apartment buildings. It was corridors, staircases, terraces, whatever. It was kind of space between public and private. And the results were really very nice, but I was thinking about preparing for today, but kind of it was this time impossible. Maybe I can do it later and put something, contribute to the site. So my experience was that students are really more, have more skills with video making, and I had an idea, okay, I'll take my phone and go make some records at the time when it was impossible to get out of the apartment. It was the very moment when I could not move 100 meters from my home. So I discovered that I can travel from the only metro station that is just near my home. And I can, in 13 minutes, I can appear in New Belgrade. So that was the initial impulse to go and start to record New Belgrade at the time when it was impossible to move at all. So this video was in many aspects kind of, we could discuss about many features. And now I'm very much critical about some points, but in a way, and I realized it's more difficult than I thought so. And I agree with you completely. It's not just to record, editing is needs, well, much bigger effort than recording. So it was very special experience for me. I finally didn't record only the huge middle class mass housing. You heard yesterday a bit about it. New Belgrade, we are speaking all the time about that. So I did record, I had 3 sessions, two sessions in field, and I had 2 sessions in the building. That was the place from where the state-driven project of New Belgrade was conceived. It was driven from that very spot, like CK building in the on New Belgrade. So it was kind of experiment. I'm not sure what final result was. We can discuss and debate, and it was about the relationship between politics and architecture. It was debate between my friend, who's a political scientist, and me. Started with our conversation with telephone, and finally we recorded this movie, and our conversation was kind of integrated into it. So I would like to share these difficulties I had while recording this movie, but I would also like to share my excitement and also discoverings. I do not have time now to share really very special moments while recording. It was kind of whole new world I discovered. At that time, the building was empty because of Corona. Nobody was working there. So I had really opportunity to investigate all the space. Finally, I would just give one more remark regarding Kostas and Konstantina's presentation. It was about this, I think you started this discussion about comparing different research, different cases and different approaches. We were speaking about relationship between Greece and Turkey. In your presentation, you made this parallel. And also Kostas said at some point that this Greece case was kind of very much different than middle-class mass housing in state-driven projects. So I wanted just to suggest that this comparing is always usually initiated by similarities. We find what is similar and kind of discover what are the points that these 2 cases differ. So we discover about them according to difference. It's also interesting to compare compare cases that are radically different, like totally on the other, like negative. So I would like to say that this maybe the next step, this comparing is not just as in the field whole cost project, but maybe those 2-3 cases. I think we will now discover what is comparable. That was all I wanted to add to discussion. Thank you very much for all your presentations and great work. Thank you all.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Maria, for sharing with us your experience about the video, because the most of us haven't the strong enough or the energy or the time for start it. But of course, your contributions are very important to us. So, Elif, do you want to add something? Feel free.
Thank you again. I think the comparison shouldn't be on the country scale. Comparison should be made in city scale, because each city has own identity. For example, some cities are capital cities, or you can see lots of money flow, knowledge flows, and some cities are industrial cities and they have own identities. There are some working class and they have different mass housing plans. And some cities are more global, such as Istanbul, and some cities are more has agricultural industry or etc. So we need to focus on more city scale for to make common features. I think it would be more better.
Just a very quick comment regarding both Maria's and Leif's comments. I believe that after we are all looking forward for comparisons, I believe, in this project. And I think that the templates will give us the opportunity to do, to start doing these comparisons. But also maybe after the templates and after the comparisons, we will have to get back to re-examine, if we need to, perhaps, the definition, let's say, of middle class in each country, so that we understand why these projects have resulted in its country, why these housing types, why these mass housing blocks, or the non-existence of mass housing blocks is the reality for each country. And perhaps even the genealogy in terms of economics and politics, perhaps. For instance, one common historical line between Turkey and Greece is the Marshall Plan and the Truman Doctrine, and the whole US involvement stuff, and how they dictated the country's economic post-war development. But I think this will be done in a second, at the second level, after we have completed the templates in the degree that we will see that we need to do to open such discussions. But I think that, yes, the comparisons is the thing that we will all gain from the whole project and the whole networking of MCMH. So we are looking, I think we are all looking forward to this.
If I may add something on this, maybe we can stop sharing screen. What do you think? So we can see each other.
Yes, thank you, Buena. Of course, Costas, go ahead.
Vlatko Korbar said yesterday that we still miss a kind of qualitative analysis of the material we have. And this is true. And I guess that when the atlas evolves, there is the need for each country or for each city, and this depends on the country as well, because, for example, in Greece, we have Athens, which is the biggest city by far, and we have other big cities, and then the rural areas and the villages, and etc. But in the case of Greece, there is a rather clear homogeneity in terms of how the cities are evolved. Whereas in the case of Turkey, for example, yes, we have big difference between Istanbul and Ankara and Izmir, totally different context in many ways. So we need this kind of qualitative analysis of our data and of our material. And this is where things will be much more clear, because what also was interesting in Blagojevic's talk yesterday morning was her idea that we should be more careful when we talk about mass housing, not to limit mass housing in a kind of architectural or aesthetic project, but to see this in a much broader framework, which has to do with economy, politics, social aspects, etc. So, for example, what does democratic or bottom-up procedures mean in Greece? It's not the same with what's democratic procedure mean in Belgrade or in Northern Europe, in Scandinavia, etc. So we have, for example, very different aspects of social state or socialism, and of course we have to consider how the private sector is involved in this, how other countries are involved. Konstantina talked about the Marshall Plan, which was like a huge deal in the case of Greece and Turkey. Greece and Turkey were the countries which received the biggest support from the Marshall Plan globally. So this is really a very important case when we talk about the post-war cities. And we think we have to think about the involvement of the private sector, of the banks, small involvement or big involvement, the percentage of funding which is based on loans or is based on own funding and self-help, as Konstantina also said before. So there are many, many layers that we can highlight in this qualitative analysis of our data, but I guess that this goes to the next step and more to the atlas. For the moment, we're still in the very small scale, and we're trying to pin out its case study and its country and its project. But when we try to see the bigger image, we have to do this quality analysis.
Thank you, Costas. Yes, I think it's a fact that we can take out of the presentations of yesterday, that what we have done regarding the template one. So the preliminary conclusions with the statistics that Vlad developed is that comes that will arise from that some questions that we have already to deal with and decide. So I think just to say that the approach that we did, we should keep it, because it's very important how we can visualize the aesthetic, the qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis also, and how we can go forward with the qualitative analysis. So everything, of course, is linked, and we have to learn with the first steps to go for the further ones. So I don't know if anyone wants to add something. I don't think so. So we have more 30 minutes. I will, if you have enough energy to keep here, and we can think about how we can go forward. It's very important for us, for each working group, decide here. Here is the best opportunity that we have to decide how to go forward. And I have some questions that I have to make. So the idea of the template was exactly to share with other working groups and expect them the best words, the best concepts regarding the middle class and the public policy. So we are waiting for that. But we have more goals to decide. So the first one that came alive, I don't know if I can share the screen, but maybe it's not important. So from yesterday, we have just regarding this, we have to set. First, we have to decide what we want to do with our second template, because I think we have to decide if it's already closed, knowing that are some topics, there are some terms that maybe, or one for sure regarding middle class and mass housing, that are not yet closed, and maybe they will only be closed by the end of the action, so we can wait so much time. It's a difficult process, because in one hand we want to go forward with the case studies, but I think we have just to think before send the second call. So first, we have to set, we decide a number of case studies for each country. It was one of the unbalance that we have here. So we have to set, a number of case studies for country, or maybe per city, because as you, Vlato, showed, sometimes there is no equality in the country, so we have to try to cover the different situations. So that is one of the questions I will share here, because I think it's easier just to have. So I think you are seeing this. So you should, of course, do our best, all of us, to collect more case studies. We have to have the goal of be with all countries represented in our templates. So what do you think about to set a minimum and a maximum of case studies? Do you agree it's per country or per city? Please feel free to talk, because it's not a class. I will not give the word, but just say what you think about. As I'm just going, maybe it's or no. You said just one topic at which. Say, Dalit, please.
Yes, I have one suggestion. We have 2 MC members from each country. So yes, maybe each MC member can provide only 2 case studies. So let's say, well, actually we have also sub members, which part of them are very active. But I think from each person you can get between 1 and 2. I'm thinking about Israel. Yael lives in Tel Aviv. I live in Haifa. So you have 2 cities here, and I think it can be good if we have, let's say, 2 case studies from each city. Or but I remember that from Italy we had many case studies, but I don't remember from which city. So, but I think you can divide it, I don't know, by countries, by cities. You know, statistics can go anywhere, but maybe each person can provide up to 2 case studies between 1 and 2. And so then you can allow them to provide at least 1 case study from one city, and then you can have several from each country. But if you have many people from Italy and they have many case studies, from my point of view it's okay, but as I remember, we're missing the upper part of Europe, which I'm not sure we have many participants from Sweden, Finland, whatever. So it will be like a hole, because you don't have people from there. And if we do have, I don't remember, I guess you remember from which country, maybe you can ask them personally to participate or something. And this is how we can develop the balance. But I think you should allow each person to at least give them a chance to demonstrate 1 case studies. And you know, people, some of them will not bring any case study.
I just want to say that it's very important that the research of each country, maybe they don't know themselves, but it's very important to working as a networking, because what we come and taking off what we speak yesterday, that we'll have to do the state of art. We can start to have a state of art of each country. It's my proposal, because otherwise I think it will be impossible until October, as Anna suggests. So I think it will be our path to approach that. So each country has the several research of each country have to work in networking, because it's from here that we can launch the state of art. It's the beginning. Monica, do you want to add something? Please feel
hello, good morning. Yes, well, I think it's not, it would be really desirable to have 1 per city, but then it's, I mean, which city, what is the really the criteria to say that we choose these cities and not that cities? Then the cities would be the cities of the members, and that maybe doesn't really say anything special about about what we want to say about middle class mass housing. So I think it would be realistic to have at least 1 per country, but then we have 2 MC members. So I think 2 per country, it would be fair enough. So I think we could set up a minimum, but then I don't think we should set up a maximum. I mean, we should have as much as possible. So I would say, let's set up just a minimum. Like, I mean, every MC member should present at least 1. I think that would be feasible, and I think it could work out. And then what I think that maybe the chairs or the working groups, I don't know, maybe they could try to coordinate with the MC members a way in which they find their own ways within their countries to provide a certain logic to choose the cities or the case studies within their countries in a way that they provide a comparable case studies or things that provide a different overview of what mass housing in their countries are. So I think then it should be, there should be some local coordination. I don't know if that is too ambitious because it's a lot of countries, but well, I think we should give a try. We're still in the middle of our action. So this is my suggestion.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
Okay,
please.
thank you so much. I wanted to say that I think that I understand that we have to consider a number of cases as a sort of regulation, but I think that probably as a feasible, yes, I understand the number 2, but I think this should express what are the situations that are the condition that in the country express the middle class mass housing in the country. So for example, and that's why I think there is a necessity of relationship with the group 2 and group 3. If from the studies comes out that there are 3 or 4 different situations in a country, I think these 4 situations should be visible in the case studies. Otherwise, there is a lack of relationship among the literature, the reading, and the case study. It's not a fact of putting, like the number, but it's really to visualize what is the condition of a middle class mass housing in the country. If it's just 1, the case study could be minimum 1, but if there are 5 situations, should be, I think, at least minimum 5. I would not put a maximum number because I think more we see, better it is. And it's not a problem, is my point of view, but I understand that certainly it was this strange situation of Italy, the maximum number. What is important is to show what is the typical middle class situation in the country. This is the important part. So for now, we can also say 2, but I would like to add these, the case studies should visualize the condition of the country. For example, I'm saying we are developing in Italy a conversation. We haven't already, because I'm also in the group 2, with other people from Italy of the group 2, where in the group 2 there is this 2 goal that else that was developing. One is a whole picture of the country. So what is the situation of the country? Another one is about the literature of different stream of studies from different perspectives. Now, this whole picture of the country, we are discussing about that for Italy, for example. We have different situations in the north and in the south. So it would be important to have both situations, like in the north and the south of Italy. If there was a country where there is no difference between north and south, east or west, probably this is not a need. Or we are understanding that we have the very large situation, large buildings, only in one case study. Then we have what is called the parks, which are not parks, they are like a boundary area with different buildings, and this is another case study. And then we also have other situations. So I think if we talk about these 4 situations, would be important to have at least 4 case studies showing these situations. I'm sorry that probably I didn't express myself so well in the English because
sorry, I agree with both Alexandra and Monica. It's not a matter of geographical distribution, really. If the whole country follows same patterns of city development and evolution and middle-class mass housing, as is the case in Greece. If there are differences between cities, then they must be recorded in terms of representation, and in order to really present all different cases. And I agree with this. So I think the geographical distribution and whether it will be recorded or not, and the degree it will be recorded, it's up to its MC groups to decide. But I will come back to what I commented at the beginning, that I think that in terms of chronological distribution, we have to decide whether we want to have this 3 or 4 period distribution, like first post-war decades, 60s, 70s, and then contemporary today. Then the minimum number would be 3 cases, one from the first post-war decades, one from the 60s, 70s or so, and one from contemporary, from our contemporary era. So I think for me, I see it as central because from what Vlatko presented yesterday, this exists, this distribution already exists. There are countries that have shown only for today, or others have shown only for the 60s. So I think we will have to decide at some point whether we need these cases from each period representative for each period. I don't know if you want to discuss, comment on this.
Yes, Francesca, please, just to close, and after we will discuss. Francesca, you want to add something?
But I have a very confused idea, because I think what could help, I agree that maybe define 2 cases, 3 cases, I don't know, a number, it's very relative. And maybe it could helpful, as Monica was suggesting, to have, and we already talked about it, to have a representative, to have someone in chief for each country that do this coordination, and with a small group of scholars of his or her country decided, okay, how we show the middle class mass housing for our country, which are the most important case studies from before war, after war, contemporary, and this discussion could be oriented, and this local coordination that Monica was talking about, I don't know if it was in that sense, but I think it would really help to collect the many case studies possible.
I'm sorry to interfere, but I really liked this Constantina repetition. So you can do a quality analyzing of studies in vertical repetition or in horizontal repetition. But I think we should be open-minded, because with this template, you can cover all planned and unplanned cases. So I think that we should be more oriented in this way, to be something that is planned. We can see order, but even Constantina puts order in non-order. So I think that this repetition should be first priority in I don't know if you have maximum, you can put based on how many members do you have in the country. So this repetition, just to have like one type, for example, I don't know, I'm just like, this is like ideas. If you have one case is vertical goes repetition, one case is horizontal in planned, or you have unplanned one cases, or I don't know, something like that. So this is just an open issue, okay?
No, thank you, Zana. Thank you all. I think at least we can achieve and conclude that I think it's a good idea establish a representative of each of the MC member of each country to coordinate the selection of the case studies, because maybe when we start the first template, we have to go back. The first template was launched before IFA. We never seen each other. We never have talk about the action when we did this. So it's completely understanding that they can fool our ambitions and our goals. So we'll do our best for this second launch of the second call. So I think we don't have go unhappy with the results of the first template, because it was just the beginning. So I think for this, it's an important conclusion, and we'll talk about that in the afternoon in the MC meeting. So if Anna allows. So we have another questions that we should identify. First, we have to identify which terms maybe arise that, such as was highlighting yesterday, such as about the center. But I think the glossary could help us in this sense, but we have to think what we want to put in the glossary. So first we have to identify which terms are maybe wise that, and after try to have a definition to start sharing with others. But regarding the time, it was also asked yesterday and discussed it, because, and once again, we have to go back because we have to range the data. First, to collect the case studies, but more complicated is the question of change in time. So we realized this question in the different situations. Vlato shows, for instance, regarding the location, that is correct. So when we are filling the template of the case study of the 60s, the location in the 60s, maybe it was periphery, but today it's central because the city expands. So what we should put there, we have to find a way of changing of these questions. I think regarding the public policy in this change of time, we have to express in the group 3 the red color. And the questions asked by Filippo, that in this change of time about the users, they in fact is already achieved in the template, because we have the original users and the current users. We can have the template. It's not a book, it's just a template. So we have to find these topics the best way. But it's that some we have already there. But we have to improve these topics. We have more raised hands. I don't know who is. I think it's Francesca and Monica. Could be. Monica could be.
Yeah. Just
go ahead, Monica.
Just one thing, because yesterday I saw this evolving discussion around the template and the glossary and everything, and because all these things started here in our working group, and I think if we come back to how the discussion started, it started with the suggestion of having a kind of protocol. I know that the word might not be the best, but with this suggestion of having a protocol to use for everybody, and this protocol could help having the same parameters for everybody. And this would help the problem of having issues like middle class that are different everywhere in Europe. So this idea was precisely to recognize that things are different, and so we would have a kind of how can I say, guidelines that we can relate to. So we say and then for instance for the middle class, we would say that it's the middle class in that case is I don't know, a certain amount of euros per capita, whatever. So then we could make some comparative studies. But then also in our group, then we said, well, it would be even better if we could start making a glossary, which was something a little bit different that came out of this. But then yesterday, it looked like in our discussion, in the discussion that started from here, that we wanted to say, this is this is that, and then there were no flexibility, and then we wouldn't accommodate the differences between countries. So I think it would be important to come back for the roots of the discussion, which was in fact the idea of the protocol, to precisely to accommodate all the differences and being able to compare different case studies in different countries with different conditions, with different middle classes, with different political conditions, etc. And then I think the idea of a glossary, I still think it's a very good idea, but not for everything, not for middle class. I mean, or maybe for middle class, we can have like different, in the end of the action, we could have different things for that. But yesterday when I was hearing the discussion, I was even thinking that maybe this idea of a glossary doesn't have to be like a dictionary. Could also be something that collects, for instance, bibliography on the subject or literature on the subject. So that would be also very important work that we could do to collect that material. So people interested in this subject, you know, all of us, we could contribute to this is something important that you could read about this. So it doesn't have to be a glossary in a orthodox, in a very orthodox way of thinking about it. So I think just the discussion just evolved in a different way than the one that I was expecting from what we discussed here in our meeting.
I'm sorry to know that, because the idea wasn't that, and we have
no, but
first.
It's not anybody's fault. It's because people.
No, it was what happened, because we start to share the idea of the glossary and what was behind the glossary, and also the template to share with the other two working groups exactly for that. For they could understand that it's not a working of our working group, but just a suggestion to be able to cross the different goals and terms that in fact they are in the three working groups who are dealing with the same topic. So, but if we have a chance, we'll just clarify this topic. So, Vlato, if you want to add something, please.
Yes, thank you. Hello to everybody. I feel slightly guilty because I have an impression that my the presentation of yesterday started the whole discussion, and it has moved it into a direction that I did not expect. I was talking about what I labeled a floating range. So it's not I did not have an intention to suggest a straitjacket, but something which would be a floating range, so that there is still, so that we would still have a possibility for comparison. And we should bear in mind the specific situation in different countries. For example, Greece is one of the extreme examples with the polykatikia. And I just want to make to illustrate where we stand at the moment. And that was the idea. From there, we can go on with improving what we have. In my opinion, it's not the best possible scenario to have nil examples from one country and 12 from another, but this floating range can help here. So I don't believe that we should limit ourselves to, let's say, just 4 cases per country or whatever. We should go and see what the important cases are. And if we should not have 3 of the same kind, so to say, from one period, one country, 3 from the same kind. Just try to illustrate what is important in certain period and what the actual situation is. If you have 3 periods or 4, whatever, which each country should cover, I think that we will have problems there as well. As Ljiljana was presenting yesterday, Belgrade and the whole topic of moving from housing to residential complexes is a little bit, at least in my opinion, is a little bit sort of moving away from the topic of mass housing, because residential complexes happen in Belgrade because the old system of planning has been disassembled. And this is now the way how they produce residential, what she calls complexes, or bigger residential ensembles. So we cannot compare what is going on today, which are just individual cases rather than big developments, with what was going on in the 60s, 70s, and so on. In terms of whether we should have more cities, depends on the country. Kostas knows we were at a conference in Athens connected to the work of Doxiadis, who worked in Skopje. Skopje was an experimentation ground. What was in the other cities was just a reflection of what was going on in Skopje. So the important thing is to single out different cases from Skopje rather than just go and look for the repetitions in the other cities. So this is the floating concept. We should all have this in mind, try to do our best, but then care for the specificities of each country. And indeed, we should not give up the idea to have case studies from all countries present. Yesterday, I heard the number 34, but on the official website, it's 32 plus other countries, Iran, and I don't know what the other one was. But France has no cases, Germany has no cases. From the UK, we have one from Belfast, and of course, there are many interesting examples there. And we still have a lot of work to do, but we will do it through the new template. And the idea to connect the 3 working groups through the template is excellent, but I don't know how it will work in practice. For example, just as Alessandra, I'm also in group 1 and 2, and maybe I could do the part for working group 2. and try something in, maybe we should have a communication officer in each working group and try to do something in connection with the working group 3 section in the new template, and then see whether we should amend it in any possible way. I don't believe that for all the cases we will have a very intensive communication among the 3 groups. So we should try our best to complete the template and then try to communicate it with the groups 2 and 3. I don't know how it will work. This is just a comment. Maybe there is already a agreed upon way in which this will work. As I said, again, I want to say that it's a very good idea to have a communication among the 3 groups, but I don't know how it will work on the template too. Okay, so well, that was about all.
No, thank you
for the moment. Okay.
No, thank you so much. No, I totally agree. And the idea of crossing with the other working groups was expecting them. They are looking for. They are looking deeper in some content. Help us in the terms of defining concepts. What I'm saying is, for instance, what they already did. Moog said that we should add not only the private or the public, but also the private and public, the tenants, or the kind of, if they are owners or tenants, that kind of topics, because the template is what it is. It could be best and improved in some cases, and I think we have to highlight this question of the floating range because it's very important. I don't know how we can almost doing a dynamic template. We'll see, but I think we can improve this and just receive the feedbacks of the other working groups. So we are not waiting for the definition of middle class, because if you will arrive that in the end of the action will be great. So we have to finish. Thank you so much. I have more. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to say about the change of time that was raised by Filippo, I think it is really true that it is very important to understand if there are changes, and I thought this was right, but it's also, I think this would involve basically everything in every content of what is in the template, because for example, it is not only the area that like a place that can be was in the suburbia and now has become a center, or anyway within the normal fabric, or the living space, quality living environment could be something in the beginning and different currently, and so on. So I think that what we could do, we could stress in each writing that the author should explain if there are changes in time. And of course, more than one case can be selected, and it is the text itself that would express if this is the case. So for example, urban area, if this, as I was giving the example, this place was at the time suburbia, the author would check suburbia, but would also check center. And in the writing, there should be the possibility to explain, originally the area was a suburbia, nowadays it is now center. So for each thing, there should be the possibility to write and to select more than one case, because it would be too much to have a line of timetable in which we would check original, there could be something happening in the 60s and then something else in the current times. There is a lot of timetable that would be needed. And I think this is, of course, too complicated. I think we already inserted quite a lot in the template. We cannot really ask to do like a work that is really very, very difficult for the author. So I would just explain, I have a possibility of text for each choice and stress in each description the need to explain it, if eventually there was a change in time. This is...
May I say something? I think I wasn't yesterday at the round table, but I was at the beginning when Vlad also pointed these things of the transformation and what, beside of what was center and periphery, but something that was center now is periphery, and as well, Alessandro was saying, the location, the qualitative issues, the materials, the dwelling. For each, almost our content, we could have a part of the building, the actual building time and nowadays. I think we should ask ourselves and think maybe collectively what we are interested. If you're interested in having, for example, templates that show the building time, the actual building time, and how was the middle class mass housing at that time, or if you are interested also in the transformation, because if we are interested in both, I think we should be more clear and maybe ask for both of these information and duplicate the template. And I'm sorry if it will be very extreme, but as Alessandro was saying, I think it would be very confusing to check, imagine for the location, center and periphery, and then have the text, and then imagine the people that need to do the atlas and choice, okay, this case study is a center, is a periphery, he needs to read, or she needs to read the text to understand if before was the periphery and then was the center, or the contrary. I don't know, I think it's sensitive issue.
We can, sorry, thank you. We can also define that, for instance, regarding the location it's what it is today. We can set that, and if you agree that is this, all the case studies and the template follow the same rules. It's more or less go back to the protocol that, as you know, I don't like too much the word, but I think it fits here. We have to decide our rules, and from then everything it's in the same way. So if you agree, because we have more in the afternoon, so we are already passing the time, and I really don't like to go forward with the time. But I have noted of all of this. Some of us will discuss these points of the MC meeting, others no. But why can say that I'm doing abstract or resume of all the topics discussed at the end of the event, and try to figure out how we can go further, because we have only one possibility, or the best our possibility we have to find is, but we have our tools, the video meetings. Now I have the notes. We have to organize through the subgroups, and the video meetings is and the website is our best tools. So we must keep forward with this. But I will send for all the last template with the ending notes that we have here. And I don't know, I just want to know if you agree, if we set a deadline, for instance, 2 more weeks, 15 days, 2 more weeks for everybody with on all the things that you have already achieved to close and launch the second call. Who agree? Raise the hand, please. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you so much, because for me it's very important, because we ending this and I don't know what's the best way to go forward. So thank you so much. Have a nice lunch, and we'll see you in the afternoon again. I hope you don't miss me in this break. So thank you so much, all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Diz, Mónica?
Não saia já, Inês.
Tá bem, tá bem. Bye, have a nice lunch.
Toda baralhada com os horários. A nossa reunião é...
Tá bem. Eu já, olha, fiz aqui um papel que pus na parede, que era para avisar a minha família. Então já está, com as nossas horas, com as nossas horas.
É ao 12h30, não é?
É, ao 12h30 é a Core Group. É o Core Group Meeting, que o Rui enviou um link especial. Ok?
Ok.
E eu diria que será o mesmo meeting para a MC Meeting. Será o mesmo link, será o mesmo link para a MC Meeting. Ana, estás sem som, não sei se estás a falar connosco, mas estás sem som. Estás, então vá.
Ok.
Espera aí, desculpa, eu estava aqui quase a sair, mas entretanto, estava aqui quase a sair para ver se ia comer, porque estava aqui...
Para ver se ias almoçar. Agora estamos na hora do almoço, não é?
Pequeno almoço, segundo pequeno almoço, sei lá. Ainda estou aqui com metade do pequeno almoço, não consegui acabar. Enfim.
Este grupo, sim, temos aqui um core grupo e depois há outra para o... Não é a mesma? Ou é a mesma?
Olha como é que eu sou, um café e um chá.
Olha, um resto de maçãs, um café, um smart, que a Sara me veio aqui deixar.
Vou mandar-vos para vocês os links que mandou Mónica e Inês.
Ai, deixa-me parar de gravar.